Phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to After Hours Live with Chuck Bowser, RCDD, where you get to ask your favorite RCDD your questions about installation, certification, estimation, project management, and even career path. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So you probably noticed last week I didn't have a show. I was traveling last week. I was in New Jersey and New York, and I did a meeting session with some people locally, some people who were in town, and we met up after hours and had a live after hours, and I answered their questions. So I do that from time to time when I travel. So always make sure that you watch, because I will post when I am traveling somewhere, and if I'm in your area, you can meet up with me in live after hours and we can have our own session. That's why there wasn't one broadcast last week. Did you catch the show that I put out on Monday? Yeah, I did 5 tips on doing site surveys, right? Now, technically, I gave you more than 5 tips. I think I gave you like 7. Well, I counted 7. I think there's more than that actually in there. There's a ton of them in there. Yeah, so make sure that you go back and download that, okay? Now, before we get too much further, it is after hours. What are you drinking? Tell me in the chat box. Hello, Mark. How you doing, my friend? What are you drinking? It is an after-hour show, so you can drink alcohol. It is okay, but I am drinking just plain water today. Just plain water. Hello, Muhammad. How you doing, my friend? So water for me. Put it in the chat box. What are you drinking tonight? George on TikTok says he's drinking root beer. Is it real root beer? Or is it the stevia root beer, right? Mark says he's drinking coffee because he's still at the office. Oh, man. Go home. Have some personal time. So there we go. I'm drinking water. I was going to be drinking something else, but I just didn't kind of get to it. So Ed, the old tech guy, is drinking Modelo Especial. I don't know what that is. And then somebody is smoking some fresh 100% pure sativa packets. I'm old. I don't know what that means. You're going to have to let me know in the chat box, because I don't know what that means. I just don't. Chuck is not that smart about some things, at least, right? So we did, what are you drinking? Also, Henry's in the house, one of my mentees. Hello, Henry. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you here tonight. So what I want to talk about is, first, before we get too much further, is make sure you check out my QR code. It's up here. If you're on LinkedIn, right there it is. Make sure you scan that QR code. Okay, that way you can check out all my platforms, on my TikTok platform, my Instagram platform, and Facebook. You can also even buy me a cup of coffee. If you buy me a cup of coffee, I will send you free some of my stickers. I got some new stickers in, right? Knowledge is power. That's my saying that I do all the time. Knowledge is power. Yes. So if you buy me a cup of coffee, I will send you some free stickers. Yep. You can also schedule some one-on-one time with me. So if you got some questions that you want to ask, I'm getting it, George. Patient, my friend. So if you have a question that you want to ask, make sure that you check out that QR code, scan it, go to the LinkedIn, and then you can actually schedule some 15 minutes with me after hours, of course, right? After hours. So there you go. But I'll leave that QR code up for time. No, actually, I'm just going to take that QR code down. Now, the next step is, right? George already guessed this. The acronym challenge. The acronym challenge. Right? So today's acronym is, it's a tough one. It's BICSI. BICSI, BICSI. What does that acronym stand for? BICSI. The first person to answer this will get some stickers. Okay? The first person to answer that question. Oh, I didn't show it to my LinkedIn group. There you go. First person to answer that question will get some stickers. Right? BICSI, BICSI. What does that mean? Now, you know me and my acronyms. You actually came across an acronym the other day that I didn't know what it stood for. Right? So, oh, look at this. Here's the first one already. Henry, Building Industry Consulting Services International. Very good. Very good. Yeah, so you were the first one. So, Henry, make sure you email me your address so I can send you those stickers, my friend. Okay? Make sure you email me those stickers. So, what is BICSI? BICSI is an organization that it's a membership-driven organization. They provide education and training. They do conferences. They do, I think, 2 conferences a year. They used to do more, but I think they're only doing 2 now. They got one in Vegas coming up here soon, and then they've got the one in Orlando. They do credentialing and certification. So if you want to become a certified installer, RCDD, outside plant, they also write standards. They write standards. A lot of people don't know that. Actually, I got a couple of their standards right here on my desk. Of course, it's buried. It's buried underneath my other standards. So I actually have a couple of their standards. So I do participate, and they also have reference manuals, the ITSA manual, the TDMM. I've got copies of those, and it's a community organization, so they it's a great way to get to meet and network people, know people, right? So that's what BICSI is. So let me go ahead and turn off that graphic. I really need someone to run the back end of this for me, so that way I don't have to do everything. I can just be the personality. Now comes the motivational minute. Oh, I forgot to tell you the acronym saying. Don't forget to spay or neuter your acronym. We have enough. We don't need any more. George, I appreciate you volunteering, but you got to be available every time I do a show, buddy. Every time. Motivational minute. Here's a saying. I just came across this the other day, and I'm just going to give you just this saying, and I'll let it sink in. It says, "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. We are our own critics, worst critics, right? When I did my after hours live thing last week with that group of people that I met with, I kind of mentioned that I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who's trying to make a difference. And one of the guys kind of said, "Chuck, no, you are an expert. You're really good." So we are our worst enemies. Don't let yourself talk yourself out of going for that promotion, going for that certification, right? Just be better. All you gotta do is just believe in yourself, right? That's what that really boils down to. So with this, LinkedIn is slower than the other platforms today, evidently. Sorry about that. It's also on YouTube, and it's also on Facebook as well. So it's going across all 4 platforms. So Todd says he's on YouTube then. So there you go. Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start off with the questions. Now, in the meantime, I've got 5 questions. I don't know if they'll take the full time. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Okay. Put them in the comments. So the first question. Now this one, I actually just got this one the other day. It got sent to me via email. And this one comes from Mike, right? And Mike wants to know, what is the proper way to certify a permanent link with a gigabits in the telecom room and the field terminated jack out the work area outlet? Gigabits. Gigabits is a block that's used by Nordex. So the Nordex gigabits head isn't it the Nordex gigabit? I can't talk. Is the Nordex gigabits head still manufactured by Fluke? So I reached out to Steve Cowles at AEM and also Mike Pinocchi, my two testing experts, about this. And that's the first thing that Steve said. Steve says, I don't think Fluke still makes that. And you're going to get a lot of crosstalk issues. So when I reached out to Mike, Mike is a Fluke trainer, and he said that you basically should put the main at the workstation end with the permalink adapter, and the remote stays in the telecom room with the channel adapter. And then you're going to plug your RJ45 gigabits cable directly into that channel adapter. Okay. Now, since we're not really caring about the near and crosstalk at the RJ45 on the gigabits, you can use a channel adapter. You don't necessarily have to use that permanent link, right? But the problem is, where are you going to find those adapters, right? Where are you going to find those adapters? So it's just one of the things that we're lacking right now. So somebody has said a Bix punch. Yes, Bix makes a specific punch tool. They were the first ones to come out with the little scissor things on the punch tool, right? And then everybody else kind of followed along behind them. Let's go to the next question. This next question came in via TikTok, and this question is from a user. I didn't capture the person's name, and I did a video on one of the certification levels. I don't remember which one it was, but I did it on one of them. And so their question was, what steps do I need to take to get Bixby certified? What steps do I need to take to get Bixby certified? Well, the person didn't tell me how many years of experience they have, so I don't know if they qualify for they definitely qualify for at least the installer one, but I don't know if they install for the installer copper, installer fiber, or technician, or RCDD, because they didn't tell me. So I'm just going to assume the entry level certification, the installer one, right? Now, for the installer one, there are no prerequisites. You can apply for that literally if you were flipping hamburgers 2 weeks ago. Okay. When you get that certification, though, that certification is going to demonstrate to a potential employer that you have entry level knowledge and those skills needed to install, cabling for voice and data, for information communication technologies. Now, the first step into getting your certification is to go to the Bixby webpage. Okay. Now, when you go to the Bixby webpage, you want to log into your profile. If you don't have a profile, then go ahead and create one. I don't know if they charge for the profiles. I don't think they charge for the profiles, but I'm not 100% positive on that. But so if you don't have one, create one. And then when you go in, make sure you put in your business address, your home address, your cell phone number. Put all that personal information in first and make sure you save that. After you do that, then you're going to click on My Account. There's a little icon. It'll say My Account. Click on that. It's going to take you to a new page. On that page, you'll find another icon that says Credential Dashboard, or it might say Credentialing Dashboard. It says one or the other. You're going to click on that. It's going to take you to another page, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to select the credential that it is that you're trying to achieve, right? Once you put all that information in, you verified it. You want to make sure that you verify that information you have in there is correct. That's why you want to put your information in first, right? Then you're going to select the exam for which you're going to be taking. Here, it's going to be the installer one, because I don't know what date or what certification this person was going for. Then you're going to enter in the date and the location where you want to take that exam. Now, you're either going to get that information directly from your instructor, or you're going to get it from Bixby's webpage. You go to the webpage, they got classes and certification dates stuff that you can find, right? Or you can always call Bixby as well, right? So you're going to go ahead and put in that date. And then what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down a little bit further. There's a spot for you to put in your electronic signature and your date. There's even a spot there if you have any specific accommodation or special accommodations, like maybe you might be in a wheelchair, or you might be hearing impaired, sight impaired. There's a box where you can put that information in. Once you select on that, then you can go ahead and go down, and you have to read and agree to the code of ethics, which I love. And you got to test the fact that everything you put on that application is in fact true and accurate. Once you've done that, then you're going to go ahead and click the submit button and then make your payment. Now, the payment for taking the test is $335. $335 just to take the test. All right. Now, if you want to become a Bixby member, that's another fee. If you want to have a copy of the ITSA manual, that's another fee. If you want to take the class, that's another fee. Right. I think your best chance of passing is either studying beforehand, getting the 8th edition ITSA manual and reading and spending at least 50 hours in that thing, and reading it and obtaining all that information in your head. But some of us aren't good at that kind of self-study program. And if you're not, then you might want to take the Installation 101 class for the Installer 1 class, right? Oh, and make sure you have your safety and your PPE knowledge down pretty well as well. When I used to be a Big C certified trainer many moons ago, I don't have the certification anymore, but I did for a while. When I was doing the classes, I always did my exams on the last day of the class, and the students would take both a written exam and the hands-on exam. I'll talk about both those here in a second. So, but I would have some local technicians say, "Well, I want to come in and just take the test. I don't want to take the class." Well, you can do that, but it's a lot harder to pass the test that way. So it's probably best that you do take the class. Just saying. So now you're going to be given both a hands-on exam and a written exam, right? So on the hands-on exam, right, and this is per Bixie's webpage, the hands-on performance exam consists of completing 6 tasks to industry standards within a 20-minute per task time limit. The proctors will give you a pass or fail result after each time you complete a task. If you fail to successfully complete one of the hands-on exams, you will be given the opportunity to retest on that task on the same day at no additional cost. If you fail the same task twice or fail a total of 2 hands-on tasks, the hands-on examination will have to be taken at another date. Now, I know when I went through the course, and also when I taught the course, when you're sitting and you got 8 guys or 8 technicians, because if you're instructing, you have I think 8 people in the class. It's hard to watch. It's not like you have a timepiece for everybody. Some people just don't perform very well under pressure. Chicken wings to go. How you doing, my friend? So there's not like there's going to be a time you get to ding. It's not like that, but you do have to complete it within a reasonable amount of time. Once you complete that hands-on exam, then you're going to take the written test. The written test, again, this is coming from Bixie, is a computer-based exam. It's 2 hours in length. It consists of 75 questions, and those 75 questions are drawn from the Bixie ITSA manual. That's why I said, get a copy of the 8th edition ITSA manual and read through it, okay? Right? Because you're going to have to know it. Now, like I said, you get 2 hours to take that test, and it's 75 questions. So the way that the test is broken down, 13% of the exam is going to cover conduct, field planning, implementation, and design. 31% of that exam is going to cover establishing pathways and spaces. 21% is going to cover pulling copper and fiber cable. 15% is going to cover terminating copper and fiber. 6% will cover how to test copper and fiber. Another 6% is going to cover the troubleshooting, and 3% is going to cover retrofits, and another 3% will cover applying concepts of integration or converging to the scope of work, and the last 2% is code and standards. Now, this is for the installer 1. That's how the installer 1 is broken down. The installer copper, installer fiber, and the technicians, those might be broken down differently. I just look up this one because, again, this person did not tell me what classification they had. So I just assumed it was going for the installer 1 since they didn't tell me. Okay. So that answers your question. Remember, if you have a question, make sure you put it in the chat box. When I get done with these submitted questions first, I will cover your questions. So the next question, this is from Scott on Instagram. He goes, I sat in a class where they said we had to use 2-hole long barrel connectors for bonding. Does that include the rack? 2-hole long barrel connectors are always going to be the best way to bond something because you got 2 screws holding it to the whatever it is you're bonding to. 2 is 1, 1 is none, right? You have a backup, right? And according to the Bixie ICT Field Practices Guide, Volume 1, on page 189, if you want to go read it, by the way, you should have a copy of these. This is why I had Bixie was the acronym challenge today, because I had a couple of Bixie questions, right? It says that single hole lugs are acceptable to bonding equipment when a 2-hole lug attachment is not available. Okay. Again, that 2-hole lug is going to give you redundancy. There's also an inspection port on that 2-hole lug. So that way, when you stick the copper into it, you should be able to see copper in that inspection port. There's two bands on it. You got to crimp on each of those bands, and make sure when you crimp on it that the number that the crimper leaves embedded in the connector is facing outward, right? That way the inspector can see it. And again, it's a irreversible compression style connector, and that's always the best. Next question, and this one comes from Joe on LinkedIn. And Joe says, Chuck, some patch panels come with star washers, but only one. Would I not need one for each screw? The answer there is no, you only need one. And that star washer, it gets placed between the equipment or the patch panel and the rack that you're bonding it to. So when you tighten down that screw, it bites into both the metal on the rack and the metal on the backside of the patch panel or equipment, if that's what you're doing. This eliminates scratching the paint off the rack. Okay. Just make sure you install it correctly. I've done QAs where they put it in the wrong spot. It goes between the rack and the equipment. Now, some technicians are going to tell you, well, you get sufficient metal to metal contact if with the metal and the threads. Maybe for UTP panels, not for shielded patch panels. Shielded patch panels, I can't think of any top of my head, any unshielded patch panels that get shipped with star washers. There might be something out there, but I can't remember seeing any. Typically, if you're getting a star washer, it's usually a shielded patch panel, usually, right? So when you put that in, here's a pro tip for you. When you're installing that star washer, always put it in the same spot on all of the panels, right? So if you got 5 shielded patch panels, and let's say you decide to put it in the top right-hand corner, put that star washer in the top right-hand corner on all those patch panels. If you decide to put it in the top left, that's fine too. Just do it the same on all of them. Consistency. That's what it boils down to. All right, question number 5. I kind of love this question. I'm kind of envious of this question. This comes from Jonathan, another Instagram. Jonathan says, Chuck, the company I work for has a company policy against long hair. I can't relate to that one. There's a company policy against long hair, and they are telling me to cut my hair. What should I do? If you have a suggestion for Jonathan with this long hair, put it in the chat box. Put it in the chat box wherever you're watching this. Right now, let me talk about why companies don't necessarily want you to have long hair. It's not a hippie thing. It's not, they don't want you to have long hair because, well, it might be professionalism, or you might have an old school kind of person, but it's really a safety concern, right? It's really a safety concern. Now, what does that mean is it might get caught in some operating machinery. It might get caught when you're working a loft. I did a job one time. I was working with a guy who had a ponytail, and he was coming down off the ladder. And as he was backing down, his ponytail got caught in the grid, and it actually yanked his hair. Luckily, he stopped before he got an injury, but it can be a safety issue, right? It may also hinder your PPE. You might not be able to put your hard hat on correctly. You might not be able to put your mask on correctly. And masks are big right now with COVID and all that stuff, right? And but it's still kind of a risk. Now, here's the question I have for Jonathan. All right, I have 2 questions for him. Number 1, how attached are you to your long hair? How attached are you to your long hair? Some people, it might be a religious or a medical reason for it. I can't think of any, but you might be. I'm not a medical person. I'm not a expert on all religions, but there might be a reason for it. And if that's, then just provide that documentation to your company, and then that issue should go away. If it's not for a medical reason or for religious reasons, and you don't have really strong feelings about your long hair, by the way, I'm kind of jealous because I can't grow long hair. Right? If you're not attached to your long hair, just cut it. Just cut it. Right? If you're not attached to it, just cut it. So my other question is, how well do you like working for the company that you work for? Right? If you really love that company, you love working for them, you get paid a lot of money, and you like the work that you get to do, cut your hair. If it's a company that you're okay with, you like it, but you don't love it, then go find another job. Go find a company that will accept you for your long hair. Okay, so there really is, it just kind of depends. There's a lot of factors going there. If it's their company policy, and their company policy says you can't have long hair because it's a safety violation or safety concern, right? And it's written in that company policy that if any violation of the company policy can result in you losing your job over it, then make sure it's a hill you're worth fighting for. Make sure it's a hill that you're worth fighting for, right? So I am kind of jealous because I can't grow long hair. I just can't do it. All right, so let's take a look at some of our chat box and see if anybody had submitted any questions in here. So somebody's talking about the Gigabix. Todd Brendan Forder says Gigabix is a block that's essentially used by Bixie in their classes. Yes, you will come across Bix blocks in a Bixie class, but I teach in Canada quite often, and they still use Bix blocks sometimes in Canada, right? So you will come across that. Alrighty, so Muhammad Adel says, what is the difference between the maximum attenuation and the worst case of attenuation for optical fiber? That's just the range that you want to be within. The TDMM gives you both those values, and I don't know them off the top of my head. Worst case scenario, and the maximum you definitely don't want to exceed. Worst case scenario is what you're typically going to come across, but you want to be underneath both of those, right? Let's see. What does Mark ask here? Mark Higginson says, do you have any tests involving discontinuous shielding cabling? Discontinuous shielded cable is actually considered unshielded cable. So you just do a regular UTP test with it, and you're good to go. It's technically classified as an unshielded. And you know what? When you look at shielded cable, it has a drain wire, and that metal shield, it goes continuously from one end to the other. Discontinuous shielded cable, there's a break every 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, and there's no drain wire. So it's technically considered an unshielded cable. So a regular UTP test will be fine for that. Okay. All righty. Somebody says, talking about the long hair, Jonathan, find another job. LOL. Like I said, I'm jealous because I can't grow long hair. I'm just jealous, right? But I've come across a lot of people in the industry that do have long hair, especially in splicers. People working the outside plant world, they love having long hair. They love having long hair. And Kim says, Kim's in the house. Hey, Kim, how you doing? Man bun. Yeah, I don't have any man buns. I can't, but hey, again, I'm just kind of jealous because they can do it and I can't, right? All right, let me see if there's any questions here in the TikTok feed. A shielded modular patch panel would be bonded to the shielded jack. Yeah, but you also have to bond that patch panel back as well. Well, go by the manufacturer instructions. Some manufacturers are going to tell you got to bond that shielded patch panel. You can actually go by the field installation guidelines. It tells you to do that as well too. So you got to bond that to a rack as well. Let's see. Any other questions? Let me see. Chuck, when doing a desktop assessment of a trenching fiber, how much slack is recommended? When doing a desktop assessment of trenching fiber, how much slack is recommended? I'm not sure if I understand your question. What's a desktop assessment? I'm not sure if I know what that is. But when it comes to slack, the more the better, right? As long as you're not exceeding maximum lengths. Like if you don't want to do put a whole bunch of slack if your cable's at 290 feet because you only have 5 feet that you can play with there. But if it's fiber, you probably have enough there, as much as possible. In the telecom room, I think it says in the TMM that you got to go floor to ceiling to the furthest part in the room and then back up to the ceiling, if I remember right, and maybe 10 feet, I think, on top of that. When it comes to fiber, the more the better. The more the better, right? Alrighty, that takes care of that question. There's no more questions in TikTok, right? Team Shake and Bake, I need to get some of those Let's Talk stickers for my pack outs. Team Shake and Bake, DM me. I'll set you up. Any questions in the chat box here? No more questions. So I guess that's it. We're 1 minute early. It's 6:29. 6:29. Hey, I'm thinking of doing maybe on a Thursday night a round top. If you paid attention, I think it was on on Tuesday or Wednesday. I was on Tech Talk with Steve. We did an RCDD roundtable, right? If that's the case, I want to do a roundtable on one of my Thursday nights. So if you're interested in participating in a roundtable, shoot me an email. Okay, shoot me an email, and we'll do a roundtable. It could be on anything. It could be on cabling. It could be on whatever you want it to be on. Testing, estimation, project management. So if you want to be a part of a roundtable, let me know. Shoot me an email, and we'll take care of that. Right? Anything? Okay. Anything else? Checking one last time. Alrighty. No more questions here. All right, everybody. Until next time, remember, knowledge is power.